This show contains mature content. The views and opinions presented belong solely to the people expressing them, and they do not in any way represent Goonies Comedy Club, the Crooked Pint Ale House, or any of their staff or management. Besides, every person on this show is a comedian, and they might just be joking. If you could be trapped on a deserted island with any one person, why would it be me?
Ah, you? Yeah, I don't...
Roll lunch. We're having lunch on the road. Yeah.
Welcome to Road Lunch, where we sit down with working comedians on the road to have lunch. We're here at Goonies Comedy Club at the Crooked Pint Ale House in Rochester, Minnesota. My name's Andy Fisher, and joining me are comedians Tommy Ryman and Dave Yates.
Hey,
thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Yeah, appreciate it a lot. We want to kind of get to the point of this show, right? We want to get to know you guys as comedians and as people, kind of get to see what, you know, the progression of the career of a comedian is like. Everybody from beginning open micers to movie star, millionaire comedian, right? And everything in between. And you know, like I've kind of been saying, you can answer these questions any way you want. None of this matters, right? Like this.
It matters.
So
it matters.
Good. Okay. That's it. Whatever you want. We're here to please, I guess. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, let's start off, just get to know you a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the Twin Cities area. I live in Los Angeles now, and that's my backstory.
Cool. Short and sweet.
Yeah. I grew up in Illinois, all over south suburbs of Chicago, and then I started comedy in central Illinois, and I've been out in LA for 2 years now.
Right on. So both of you are located in LA now.
Yeah.
Tommy, how long have you been out in LA?
2 years.
2 years as well.
I think we probably moved the same day. We just didn't meet each other till recently.
Right on. How long have you been doing comedy?
I've been doing stand-up for 14 years, since 2005 is when I started, when I was a senior in college.
Right on.
I went to the open mic, and I liked it. I never planned doing stand-up. I had only seen one live stand-up show, which was Mitch Hedberg, and I really liked his style, so I wrote a bunch of one-liners and did that. And I told nobody to come, and then the next time, I told everybody to come, and then I bombed. So there's still people that are out there that are like, "You really still doing this?" Because they just saw that show, and they're like,
And they
"That
gave
guy,
up on you. Yeah.
wow."
Yeah, it's been about 8.5 years for me. I started in central Illinois, so it's, I think I started in 2011 or 2010-ish, whatever math works. And I didn't start at a comedy open mic. I started at a music open mic.
Oh, really?
That my friends ran. It was a New Year's resolution one year that I was going to try stand-up, so I wrote like 10 things on a napkin, and my buddy Scott ran this music open mic, so I was like, hey, can I do, 10 minutes? So I went there, and no one was paying attention, and I did 10 things that I thought were funny about the town, and I got a couple laughs, and I was like, oh man, that wasn't bad. And so then a club opened up in town, so I was a club rat for many years, and
Right on.
you know, and I stopped inviting people to comedy real quick.
Yeah. Tell the same jokes to the same people, right? You start to lose the impact, the diminishing returns. And
It's like, we've seen you last month and you did the same 5 minutes. I'm like, I don't have anything else right now.
I used to have like a recorder, like a Talkboy recorder that I would tape myself,
A
like on
Talkboy?
on
Like a
cassette
fucking-
tape. But it was like that kind of thing. But I had a cassette tape in there, and I would record my sets. And one time I had my best friends that would come to a lot of it was like the Corner Bar up in Minneapolis.
Sure.
And I had it on the table, and I went back to listen to the set, and I was going into my old closer, which was I used to sing Carmina Burana and eat food. Real good, exciting stuff.
Can we get a little sampling of what
No,
you're...
it's copyrighted. You can't.
Yeah, right.
You'll get pegged. But you can hear my friend on the tape go, "Ah, he's doing this again." I was like, "Dude,
it's the most honest feedback you ever get, right? When they don't know you're listening.
brutal."
Just whispers into the recorder, you should quit.
Yeah, get out,
right.
man.
So was Corner Bar your home club, or did you have one you kind of identified as being the club that you got your roots in?
Well, my home club would be Acme Comedy, is where I started, and then it was the only club in Minneapolis at the time, because there was another club in the Mall of America, but it had just closed. So I went to the open mic on Monday at Acme, and then I heard about they're like, there's a club on Tuesday, so I called the mall one, and the phone kept ringing and ringing, and I was like, "Oh, this place is probably off the hook." Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
they're too busy.
and then I just found out they were closed. So, and then slowly the scene's just built. Like they've got a new club there. They had St. Paul and a ton of open mics. So it just got better and better. The scene got bigger and bigger.
Right on.
So,
Right on. Dave, did you have a home
Yeah,
club when you were coming up?
my original home club was called Laugh Comedy Club, you know, because you definitely need to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
And I started there after the bar music mic, and it stayed open, and then the ownership changed hands, and it became Laugh House Comedy Club for about a year until it closed. So then when that closed, the next closest club for me in Central Illinois was the Jukebox in Peoria, Illinois. So I migrated from Bloomington, Illinois to Peoria to do comedy because that was it. And then for me, since it wasn't like a big city, if I wanted stage time, I had to go like an hour south to like Champaign, Illinois, where University of Illinois is. I had to go like maybe an hour and 15 southeast or southwest to Springfield, Illinois. So like I could still get 4 to 5 sets a weekend, but like I had to drive to get to them because we were just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So.
Right on. Did you find that made your sets more important, right? Like, hey, if I'm driving an hour to do 5 minutes, right, it would be a lot more focused than somebody who walked there, right?
I mean, to not sound like pretentious, but like I like doing sets everywhere. So it didn't make them more or less important because it was just important, you know, because I started comedy to curb my horrible drinking. So the fact that I was doing as many sets as I was more to satiate like that adrenaline rush because that's all I had left to get high on.
Sure.
So like they were important in that regard, but they weren't important in the, oh, I'm committed to the craft. I'm like, I need this.
Sure. Was there anything you did before comedy? Like, did you go to school for something? Did you have another occupation? Anything that?
I was a theater major at the U. That's how I kind of got into stand-up. Because the very first time I ever performed was for one of my classes. We were supposed to memorize a monologue and do a monologue each week. And one time I just asked if I could do stand-up. And then the professor was like, "Have you ever done stand-up?" And I lied. I was like, "Yeah." And then that went well. And that's why I went to Acme Comedy Club like the next week to try.
Before I get caught in this lie, I better go to the comedy
I was
club.
like, I don't know
Gotta
why.
legitimize this quick.
Yeah, but it went well. And I knew I did good because then some other kid was like, "I want to do stand-up too." And he tried to go after me and he ate it. And I was like, "All right, I'm a
That's
little bit."
right.
Right on.
But then 2 weeks later, I bombed. So I was like, "Oh, okay. I know how this works."
It happens sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a salesman pretty much out of college because I got my degree in English fiction writing, which is
Yes.
the most lucrative degree you can get at a university. So I was real good at sales. So I mean, I did everything from like business to business sales to ad space and telephone books. Yeah, ancient telephone books. I had to convince people who had the internet on their phone that it was like, hey, you should invest in advertising in this telephone book. I sold a lot of drugs too. So I was good with people. And I don't think that's saying much about me because when you have drugs, people just want to be around you anyway. But I thought I was a pretty good weed man, you know? Like I had a standard of business practice that I would do. So, it wasn't never something that like, oh, I always wanted to be a stand-up comedian. It's just kind of something that came to fruition because I had nothing else to do in Central Illinois.
Yeah.
Did
So,
you advertise your drugs in the phone book for that? That's probably how you got in.
No, the weed thing was funny because like when I moved from Chicago to Central Illinois, like I got sick of paying like college kid weed prices. So my dumb ass would drive up to Chicago on the Amtrak and have like a backpack full of weed.
Whoa.
This is how brazen I was. Like I would just fucking float down to, and I had a standard. Like I would only leave during rush hour because I figured like they're not gonna stop a rush hour train, you know. So I'd have a backpack full of at the time like felony quantities, just because I didn't want to pay $60 an eighth, you know. So like I would sell weed and I got to smoke weed for free, you know. And I think I was okay and funny doing it. So like,
Sure. You said you didn't. It wasn't like stand-up wasn't always something you looked at. What, like Tommy, you had to legitimize a lie. What brought you to Dave to comedy?
Well, much like Tommy, like one of my favorite comedians, and I always loved stand-up comedy, was Mitch Hedberg. And I can remember getting those first Hedberg CDs, like Strategic Real Locations and Mitch All Together. And I was still in high school at the time with like a Discman, and would make people listen to it. Be like, you got to hear this guy. He's the best. And me and like a girlfriend at the time would even like sign our like notes to each other. P.S. This is what the part of the alphabet would look like if Q and R were eliminated.
Nice.
So like very similarly, when I started comedy, I tried to write like that, although like my delivery was not the same, wasn't as chill, but like I tried to think of like things like Mitch, because that's all I knew what a comedian looked like. So, I mean, that's what led me into it. Like, was honestly like I was a real bad alcoholic and I didn't want to drink anymore, so I'm like, I need something to replace the alcohol. So it was just kind of like a happenstance that I chose to do stand-up. And then when I got that same good feeling from stand-up as I did from getting drunk, that's when I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do.
Right on. Any other, both of you guys have said Hedberg as a
he was
major influence. Any others? Any other big name, right, like mainstream comics that are your heroes?
Hedberg was my main one. He was the first person I saw live and memorized his albums. And I would do jokes in his cadence, and then the comedian was like, we already got one of those.
Yeah.
You gotta do it a little different. But Maria Bamford was a huge one, Nick Swartzen, Louis Anderson, only comedians from Minnesota.
Yeah, right.
But they just happen to. Ted Alexandro is one of my favorites, who I worked with early on. But there's so many.
Yeah, and at the time, for me, like, comedy in general was like part of just growing up, Like, I remember I had a babysitter that would like listen to like the Jerky Boys, like the crank phone calls and stuff like that. And then my dad was like real into country music, so like Foxworthy got played. Not necessarily that I felt influenced by that, but these are the comedians that I knew about, like George Carlin. My dad would tell me about his Cheech and Chong records, and every time I'd hang out with my dad and his buddies, they'd be like, Dave's not here, man. And I'm just like, fuck, like I know, like I get it. Like, so I was already like, I was like, you guys need to be original, like and that's the thing, like, and throughout the years, like I mean, before I even started stand-up, like I saw Swartzen, and Swartzen was like blowing up at the time when Grandma's Boy, so I went to go see Nick Swartzen. I got to see Mitch live in Chicago before he passed away, which is something that was, like Stephen Lynch opened for Mitch Hedberg. It was like a weird thing, like a big old theater, and I remember spending like good money to make sure I was there, and I'm glad I was, because I got to see him live.
Yeah.
That was the 2004 tour. That's when I went. It was September 11, 2004 was when I saw it. And it was him and Stephen Lynch.
Was it? Did you see him out here in Minneapolis?
Yeah, he came to one of the theaters. I still have the ticket stub. I carry it with me everywhere.
I found on the internet a live recording of that.
Oh, no way, of that.
And I knew it was truly the recording, because during the show, like, everybody was there to kind of like see Stephen Lynch, because I guess Lynch at the time was like a little bit more popular than Hedberg in Chicago. So like people were like yelling shit at Hedberg,
Man.
And at one point he goes, oh, well, maybe if I sing my jokes they'll be more funny. It's like, I had an ant farm, them fellas didn't grow shit.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I got the recording, and I remember that, like, I could hear people, and to be honest, and I don't share this with many people, like, he asked a rhetorical question, and this is before I even started stand-up comedy. I'm almost positive I can hear myself in the recording yell, $40!
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and it haunts me to this day that I was that shithead.
You heckled your hero. Oh, man.
Awesome. When you were, so guys, you neither of you really said, well, Tommy, I don't know quite so much. Dave, you said, though, you didn't always like want to be a comedian. That wasn't the thing that jumped out. When you were a kid, what did you want to be? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I thought I was going to be an actor. That's why I was going to the U for theater. I was really bad at it, so this worked out well.
Yeah, this might sound very egotistical, but I can remember it being in 7th and 8th grade in the counselor's office, like, what do you want to be when you grow up conversation.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know, but I'm going to be famous for it.
Oh.
And I, like, literally brazen as fuck. I was just like, I don't know, I'm going to be famous. And like, I played sports, like I played baseball and golf, but then like smoking weed and playing guitar took over. So then I played blues guitar for a while. I'm like, I'm going to be famous at this. And then like that didn't work, and I was in Chicago and just drinking like a fucking monster, and I'm like, well, I can't get famous for being a drunk, And then when I moved from Chicago down to Central Illinois as an attempt to like get my shit together, like away from all my friends that had these habits, those habits followed me because, you know, like wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
So literally it was like a desperate attempt to like fucking grab onto something. Like, this is not funny at all, but like I really wanted to die. So like on New Year's, like a bunch of friends were like, you can't just tell someone that. Like I was at a party and I felt real alone, and I told my friends that I was feeling like fucking dying, and they took me away, and I was crying, I was smoking weed just to calm down, and I'm like, I'm never drinking again. And so as an effort to never drink again, I was still gonna get high because like Doug Benson was getting popular. I'm like, well, I could just smoke weed and do comedy, you know? And that's what I grabbed onto like as a life raft. And you know, I wasn't bad at it, as bad as like when you said like someone came up and bombed after you. I'm like, oh well, I'm not as bad as that person, so I guess I can keep doing this.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of my origin story.
Right on.
It's dark and weird as
That's
it is.
okay. Let me ask you this: if you were in a talent show and you couldn't do stand up, what would your talent be?
I don't know. I maybe play clarinet because I can play the clarinet, or
Right on.
ventriloquism, or
Oh.
breakdancing. Probably one of those three.
For real, breakdancing?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, I like the
You
spirit.
could see it
Okay.
in Andy's face. He looked at your face. He's like, break it? You?
Yeah.
Break dance? Cutting a rug?
Now I want to do
like,
it
who-
because you felt like you don't think I could do it.
Who's got a cardboard sheet? Let's do
Yeah,
this.
right.
This is right now.
It'd be guitar for me because that's about the only other thing besides stand-up that I spent an exorbitant amount of time doing.
Sure.
And although I don't look at myself as a good guitar player anymore, I could still play and make you think that I'm okay at it. That's like the thing in my life. Like I learned stuff okay enough to make you think I was good at it, and then I moved on.
with the right effort and positive attitude.
Yeah, you can lie your way into anything.
Man, if you played guitar while I breakdance, we would win that talent show so fast.
That's gonna be the last segment.
Yeah, right. Save it for the end. All right. Okay. One more question I want to ask you.
Oh man, I thought we were getting a new host. Like I wouldn't plot your death too quickly.
Right. Take a week or two. Okay. So now I'd like to ask you guys for some stories from your experiences doing comedy. The one I love to start with, right out of the gate, this is always my favorite, horror stories. Tell me just the worst experience you've had doing comedy, if you can narrow it down to just one.
Horror stories.
The worst show, the most difficult show I ever had, I was pretty young into it, and I had been hosting, but somebody offered me a feature gig, so it was gonna be 25 minutes. It was in a weird bar somewhere in Wisconsin, and the sound guy was like sitting behind me. There was like 4 really drunk guys in a booth. There was like a 104-year-old woman in the front row, and I was like just instantly nervous from the people. I ended up like repeating a joke just over, like I just told it
The same joke?
again because I was running out of time. And then the headliner at the time came on and just like addressed everything. He talked to the 100-year-old, they loved him. He got the 4 drunk guys out, and I was like, oh, that's how you do that, instead of just stumbling and panicking and talking to the sound guy behind you like,
How am I doing?
Yeah.
Give me the hook.
It was rough. But so that was probably my most difficult show.
Right on.
Mine was, I was maybe like 3-4 years in maybe 3 years in, and someone at the club had saw my act and asked me if I would do their corporate Christmas party.
Oh man.
And I'm 3 years into comedy. I'm like, you saw my act, right? And at the time, I'm like 3 years in, so I'm sure it was a lot of dick jokes and whatever. Not that it's changed much over the years, but so I'm like, yeah, like, as long as you know what I'm gonna do, I'm like, I'll keep it PG-13, you know? And then she's like, yeah, that's fine. So I get an email like the next day with a list. She's like, hey, could you write roast jokes about all my coworkers? And I'm like, I guess. Like, and at the time, it was like they were gonna pay me $200 for 30 minutes. And
Nice.
when you're 3 or 4 years in, and like you think you can stretch the time, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do whatever they ask me. Because I didn't know what a corporate was or whatever.
Yeah.
So she sends me this email of all her employees and with their names and then stuff written next to the names about what they were, like who they were, and to write jokes about. And the thing was, it was just like, there was some normal stuff, but there was some really awful shit too. Like, there's this one lady named, let's just say Karen for the sake of memory. Karen believes a good pair of tits can sell anything, has a big collection of shoes. Whoa. So I'm like writing a joke. I'm like, I had index cards. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna like remember all this. So I'm writing jokes about Karen and her salesman titties, and I'm like, bit, 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 bit. And then there was another lady, let's say Susan. And she's like, you know, Susan's a big exerciser, loves working out, doing marathons, hates fat people. So I wrote a joke about her hating fat people, right? So we get to the show, and there's another guy on there. I'll bring him up. So I get to the show, and I'm like maybe 15 minutes into my act, 10 to 15 minutes into my act, and I start doing this joke about going to the gay bar with my lesbian best friend. And all of a sudden, this lady comes out of the audience and grabs the microphone out of my hand and starts telling street jokes. Whoa. And I'm like standing there and looking at my watch, and I'm like, all right, I'm getting off at the 30-minute mark. Like, this lady can do whatever she wants. Like, and she's like, and she hands me the mic. She's like, clean it up. And I'm like, the joke about going to the gay bar with my lesbian best friends isn't a dirty joke. So I was confused, right? So I'm like, well, screw it. Like, I'm gonna go into these roast jokes. And I'm like, Karen, I'm like, it says here that you believe that your big old tatas can sell anything, and everybody's like kind of like horrified about this. And I'm like, just going into it, I tell the joke, and I'm like, and I brought my buddy Rick for moral support, and Rick is like a 350-pound dude, right? So I go to Susan, the workout chick. I'm like, Susan, says here that you don't like fat people. She's like, I never said that. I'm like, it says here on my card. Like, how would I know this? I'm like, you know what, Susan? I hope one day you're at a restaurant and you're choking, and the only one that knows CPR is a big old man like my buddy Rick Clemens over there, and he comes over to start saving you, and he falls and crushes you to death. Whoa. So then I move on to the next card. So there was this dude named Zane, and in the bio, the email I got, it said, Zane wears a life vest to work every day. They call it his life jacket. And it said, doesn't like gay people. Literally that said that in the email. So I go, Zane, I hear you wear your life jacket to work. I hear it's fabulous. And like people are laughing but getting real uncomfortable. I'm like, Zane, it says here you don't like gay people. What the fuck is up with that? He's like, well, I know. I'm like, how would I know any of this?
Yeah.
How would I know any of this about any of you? And I'm like, you know what? Not only is my buddy Rick Clemens big and fat, but he also real gay. And he's gonna get you after the show. And don't worry, it's only gay if your balls touch. Right? Because at this point, I'm just like, fuck these people, you know?
Yeah.
So I finished my set on the 30-minute mark. They take the mic away from me, and they fucking parade. They all prayed. The lady who took the mic originally from me, they gathered everybody in prayer.
For your forgiveness or something?
The lady who booked me was like horrified. She's like, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, you told me what to say.
Did she just make up all the stuff about the people?
No,
or?
It was all real. And like she probably thought in her brain that it was gonna go over well, like a roast joke.
Sure.
But what she didn't understand was I don't know these people, so for me talking about their insecurities or whatever, and what she neglected to tell me was that it was a Christian tech company.
Ooh.
So when I started doing the joke about my lesbian best friend in the gay bar, it wasn't that it was a dirty joke, is that they're like hardcore Christian conservatives.
Yeah.
So they cut me the check and sent me packing, and they wouldn't feed me. So I fucking.
It's not very Christ-like.
I sped to the fucking bank with Rick, and we're just like laughing our balls off. But I'm like, I gotta get this check in the fucking bank before they cancel it. Yeah, right? Dude. And that was the worst fucking gig in my entire life. Worst people, worst gig. Still got paid though. So.
Oh yeah. None of them mess with you other than the lady coming up to tell street jokes, steal the mic from you?
No, like honestly, like I wasn't doing very well.
Yeah.
Okay, the whole time, but like I was always taught to do my time no matter how bad it's going.
Right.
So like, but there were some people in the back though, like some of the younger people that worked for the company were fucking dying. So like I kind of tried to focus on them, and a couple of them came up to me afterwards like, dude, that was so fucking great. I'm like, no, it wasn't. They're like, no, to us, to watch you fucking.
The train wreck was great.
Yeah,
the whole,
yeah.
Hell yeah. Do you ever have anybody, well, I mean, you know, it happens, hecklers, right, interrupting a show, saying stuff, feel like they're helping, whatever the case. You have any terrible stories about that going on?
I used to do a bit where I'd get up on the stool. It was about like credit card swipers. So I'd be like, now. And I got up on the stool and it wasn't going very well. The audience was just quiet. And then a lady from the audience just goes, why don't you go back to comedy school? Like just dead. And I was like,
boy.
And I had no comeback. So I just awkwardly crawled down this stool. And I realized I had let her into the club earlier. Like she had like a broken leg and stuff. So I was like, oh man, this is... And then on the drive home, just thought of like 8 to 10 comebacks that I did later. Like, why don't you go back to bitch school? Like, man, I could have nailed her. But
that's always the worst. Like when like you don't have anything real hot to come back with.
No, I was green.
Then it floods into your brain. That's
Yeah.
the worst.
And then I just started roasting him with notes that I got. We prayed, and it was good. That's how we closed it out.
Heckler story for me. The worst one for me wasn't. I'm going to preface this by saying this is 100% on me. But I had just gone through a bad breakup, and I was doing a show in Bloomington, Illinois, at this like Irish bar, and I was working out some of the breakup material, so I was like real broken up about it. And this lady started yelling stuff. Like, she's like, get off the stage, you're not funny. And I just fucking snapped. I'm like, fuck you, you fucking bitch. Like, and I just started, and their boyfriend's like, hey, get off the stage, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I just went down. Like, I went down the list. I'm like, you know why your boyfriend's sitting there cowarding? Because you're a loud piece of shit, bitch, and blah, blah. And I called him a cum-guzzling fucking piece of shit. Like, I just went ham for like 5 minutes on these people. And the rest of the people were loving it, but like I just went way too hard on those people because I was in a lot of pain. And like I went up and apologized to them afterwards, and she wasn't trying to hear it, but he was. Like, he's like, yeah, it's cool, man, blah, 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 blah. They lost the show because of that at the Irish pub. Like the guy, like the owner's like, yeah, I can't have comedy here anymore. And I kept that audio recording because like usually for me, I know I got to check myself. When I start laughing like a madman is about when I'm about to snap. And I've learned that about myself over the time, that when I start going, I'm like, I gotta reel it in because I'm about to fucking do something unprofessional, which is like call a lady a cunt and a cum-guzzling piece of shit, you know? And it was not
show ended.
And it is 100% my fault. Like, I mean, we were at a fucking Irish bar and they're just loud drunks yelling shit. And like, I didn't have enough wherewithal to like reel it in and just close down the set. I just let my emotions get the better of me, and it cost someone a show. And that's, you know, that's not something I ever want to be. So, yeah, so good times.
Nice.
Do you have either of you? Do you have an approach you take when you're getting to that point with dealing with a heckler, or just having a bad set? Like, how do you handle that? What's your formula for
hecklers now? I mean, I haven't. There's been a long time where I've had like a legitimate just person shout out or anything. Like, if it's like drunk people talking, my go-to thing is just to ignore them for a while, or just ask them to leave. Like, occasionally, it's so weird though, because sometimes they'll be towards the front, and if you address them, the people in the back are like, "Why is this guy yelling?"
Yeah, because they don't hear what they're saying to you.
It'll be really weird. But I just got so good at stand-up that just everybody just really focuses, and they can't.
That's
no
a good
time.
approach. Yeah.
Tommy Ryman.
And I won't
Master.
pause. Yeah, so I just talk really fast, and then I'll just cry. If it gets real intense, real deep, heavy, like scary crying.
Ball up in the fetal position on stage.
I'll show him.
We're like, he might pass out. Like, I don't think he's getting enough oxygen to his head. He's really crying. Like, this is, that's my go-to.
Like if a bear's attacking you, just wet yourself and hope the bear won't eat you.
Yeah, right. They don't like pee
And
smell.
pee a little bit.
It's a master class on how to deal with hecklers.
My show. But
Right on.
It all depends, man. Like I kind of developed this adage, like you can either fight or be free, and I usually don't want to fight them, but then there's sometimes where you have to address it.
Yeah.
And I've taken kind of like a backwards approach instead of being mean, like I talked about in that mess up that I had. I'll literally just get down to their level and be like, hey, like I'm a person and you're a person, and I get it, you're having a good time, but I need you to shh, you know? And then I come back up and I go back into my jokes and stuff, and if they're still chatty, I'm just like, shh, and it turns into like a callback, but it's a nice way to address it. Like the best I've ever seen someone handle a heckler, I got the privilege to open for Tig Notaro at a theater, and there was a dude in the rafters yelling things, just nonsensical drunk things, and she sat there and she just let him go. Like she just let him go, and she was so nice about it until he ran out of steam, and he was done, and then she went on with her act, and like I talked to her afterwards, she's like, yeah, I don't fight him anymore. I just let him go. It's like, it's such a good thing, because I think now with all the comedy videos on the internet where like comedian owns heckler, like I think the audience sometimes want you to annihilate them. And I've had to say verbatim to an audience member, I'm like, I'm not giving you the satisfaction. Like, come on, get me. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna let you dictate what I do up here.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's kind of where I've fallen with it all.
Helps not to turn the room too, right? Like I've seen sometimes people go after a heckler or whatever, and you make it uncomfortable, and then you've made a hole for yourself to dig out of, right?
Well, there's that one guy that hits a heckler with a guitar, and they turned on him pretty fast. I can't
Yeah.
remember who it was. That's an impressive clip. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I've seen like it's getting bad. Like where like John Caparulo got a glass thrown at him on stage and things like that. But like especially if you're an opener, like you can't there's someone coming after you, so you can't fuck the room up for the person that's coming. Or if you're a host, like it's honestly I think it's a lot of the times the club's job, the host's job if you're in a bar, or the staff to just like walk up and just like, hey, you need to be quiet, like just remind them, you know. And then a lot of the times it's left on you when it really shouldn't be up to you to deal with it. But, you know, it never helps the show. Like if you're thinking about heckling, it never helps the show. It makes it fucking exponentially harder for everybody.
Unless you're gonna shout out $40, like this, his heckles, that's a
you
really
got
good
it.
legend.
Unless you're answering a rhetorical question, like,
it's got to be your hero too, right?
Yeah.
Makes you respect
sharing
this
a
person.
raw, embarrassing moment that precedes my comedy career, and I know better now.
Okay, we'll change gears here. Enough of the negative stuff. Tell me about the time, a set you had, an experience you had with comedy that you know made you fall in love with it or verified for you. This is why I do this.
I got like getting to the opportunity to work with like people that I respect. Like Maria Bamford took me on the road, which was amazing. Swartzen took me on tours of colleges where I ended up doing an arena for 6,000 people. That was the most like amazing, probably, where it was just like a wall of laughter. And Michael Jordan's kids were in the audience, like in the box, because they were going to the school. So that was like one of those where like I'll never forget, because it was just so bonkers. But and then just getting an opportunity to work with like my heroes, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I can kind of echo that. Like, I don't know. Throughout the years, I've gotten to work with people who I saw a headline when I was just an open micer, and I've gotten to open for them, and it just feels real good to have stuck with it long enough to have those people be peers as well as friends. You know, I think to me, like I got into it just to get the respect of the people that I respected in comedy. So like every time that happens, you know, like my buddy Al was a headliner, and he gave me my first guest spot because I sold him a quarter of weed at the club. And now like I've worked with Al and we're friends and stuff, and it makes me happy because I was like, you were nice to me and you didn't have to be. And that to me, that's kind of like reminds me that this is good and it's always going to be the best. So
right on. What advice would you have for aspiring comics, open micers trying to get...
Quit now before it gets its hooks in you.
Yeah, it is. Just walk away. No, I think just getting out, see as many shows as possible. Like when I first started, I was out every day. Like I'd go to a open mic Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday I would go watch a show at the comedy club, and then Sunday there was another open mic. So it literally was just every night. Yeah. I just was obsessed with it. I didn't take a class. I didn't and I just I had kind of had a mentor that was working for the club, and I was like, I want to work for the club. What do I do? And he goes, just keep writing. That's all he would tell me. And I was like, yeah, but what do I do? He's like, just keep writing. And I was like, okay, man. But that literally is what it.
It's not bad advice.
No, there's no trick or anything, and you just have to love it and never. Also later on, I always try to remember back to how much it does become a job eventually. Like you gotta send emails and travel and stuff. But I'm like, this is nuts. What I'm doing is crazy. Like I go around, go to a room, and I just make people laugh, and then they give me money. Like that's insane to me.
Yeah.
So I always check back in, and I'm like, all right, I love this. Because I always said if it's not fun, I'll stop doing it, and it's always still fun. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Aside from quit, Well, I mean, it's valid. I mean, we laugh about it, but like, I don't know. Like, if you're not sure about wanting to do it, like, find something that you enjoy. Like what he said, you got to do it because you love doing it. Like this is not fun. Like, I sleep in my car sometimes. Like, I have to hoard breakfast foods to make money on but it's I love doing this. It's my favorite thing in the world. And so I was a club rat. So like, find a club in your area and just be there Wednesday through Saturday. If there's a club in town or not, or find the closest place where there's actual comedians, working comedians, and just be helpful. Like, cause you're not gonna be funny right away. So just like keep getting up on stage and like, but be helpful. Like, you don't have to work for the club, but be at the club like Wednesday through Saturday. Help the waitresses clear plates. Like, be around the comics. Like, if there's a chance to hang out and just sit and listen, because most of us will just talk about comedy because we love comedy. So if you're always there, if it's something you really want to get better at, you need to hang around with the people who are real good.
Yeah.
You know, so like if you wanted to get good at basketball, like you hang out with people that are going to dunk on your ass. You know, like, and then you're ultimately going to get better at basketball.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with comedy.
That old adage, you only get better from a stronger opponent.
Yeah, exactly.
And get on a hit television show.
No, that'll do it too.
For about 7 seasons, and then go on
You
a
can
regular
skip all
tour.
this.
Yeah.
Get famous.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it. Work hard, enjoy it, and then occasionally sleep in your car too.
Yeah, just do it because you love doing it. If there's any other reason that you're doing it, don't.
Yeah. I gotta quit.
Cool. That's it. Yeah. Okay, so joining us now is Leo Lindstrom. Leo's a regional up-and-comer.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Leo.
Hi, Tom.
So, you know, this show is a lot about getting to know comedians, getting to know comedy. We want you guys to get to know Leo. So what we're going to do now is a little game. I'm going to tell you points about Leo, anecdotes, so stories about him, stuff like that. Okay, you can ask him questions about him, but then you have to guess, is that true or false? You get it right, you get a point.
Okay.
At the end of it, whichever of you has the most points, or if you're tied, then both of you get to pick a shot for Leo to drink.
Okay.
And we encourage it to be gross. I always say, like, the high bar is, you could say, like, jar of piss, you know, and like, you know, he might say,
Someone
okay.
wants poorly to drink piss? That's not nice.
Wow.
I'm happy to be here.
It's like, I'll drink the piss.
Okay, so it's that simple. We'll just dive right in. Leo's a good sport. Thanks again, Leo, for being here as always.
Yeah, it's something to do.
So we'll just dive right in. Here we go. Start on this one. So in high school, Leo's first time getting drunk resulted in Leo urinating on his best friend's fiance.
Ooh. So now we got to guess if this
You can ask him questions if you want to kind of mine the story a little bit, or you can dive right into true or false.
Wait, was your best friend really old?
He was a couple years. I was a senior and he was 2 years out. But so he was like he was like 21. He was getting married.
What color was his fiance's hair?
Blonde.
I'm gonna guess it's true. I'm gonna go true.
Yeah, I was gonna say true too.
True?
I was gonna ask, like, and when you peed on her, what color was her hair?
Oh,
after? But,
yeah,
like,
to see if there's a miss. Oh,
Yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, we're gonna say true. I'm going
Yeah,
true.
I'm going true.
Okay, this one is actually false. Leo wasn't drunk; he just peed on her.
Oh
Really?
man, that's awful. That's
Wow,
a weird
this is
thing to do to somebody.
this is a fun
is that
game.
true?
I'm not liking Leo anymore.
I like that was the first one.
Yeah, that. Oh, sorry. I
it
was supposed to ramp up to that one. Is that
Don't
what?
don't just roll along here, Leo. Why you
Okay.
be peeing on people?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's ask this.
We don't judge. We don't.
Yes, we do, Judge.
Yeah, you can't just say that he peed on a person completely sober and then be like, next question.
Yeah, like,
we need to get to the
what was
bottom
her,
of these.
did she ask you to? Because I'm not going to kink shame anybody.
No, I think. Well, I have to go along with your thing because this is his Andy's show. So I'm just gonna say that I felt like it.
Wow.
Cool.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not doing
Okay.
this.
Next anecdote about Next anecdote about Leo. He has on more than one occasion bitten his friend's hedgehog, which is named Pop-Tart.
You bit a hedgehog?
Why are you doing all this weird shit, Leo?
I guess I'm a bad person.
I'm gonna say that's
when you
false.
when you say it out loud.
Because that sounds like you
Is
bit
this
things
more
off
of an
it.
intervention? Like
What?
this is not a segment.
What, if you bite the hedgehog, would it be like a nibble or like a straight up bite? Like that's animal.
Like a munch.
Like taking chunks out? Or
I just hope
like,
it's false. I'm gonna say false because
Yeah,
I want
I'm
it to be false.
really
That's
hoping
horrifying.
false.
This one is actually false.
Okay,
it was a
good.
guinea pig.
Okay.
Oh, it was okay.
Well, I have a friend who is
But you guys
big
each
guinea
score a
pig
point.
enthusiast, and he would
I have
not.
2 guinea pigs. My wife would be crying right now if she's
Yeah.
heard these stories.
What-
And then you'd probably try to pee on her like
yeah.
this freak you are.
Don't pee on Tommy's wife and bite their
Man.
G pigs.
Yeah, right.
It's a fun game.
Okay. Next point about Leo. At his second time watching Avengers Infinity War, Leo was kicked out of the movie theater for cheering every time somebody died.
Tommy, you know more about comic books than I do.
I know. I think that would be funny to do at a movie, but nobody really. I mean, spoiler alert! You mean like when they,
Yeah, like
when
when
they vaporize at the end? You're like, yeah, see you later, Spider-Man.
I'm on Thanos' side, so yeah.
Okay, I'll say that's true. That seems like yeah, you got.
mean, if
That would
you-
be
yeah.
fun.
I'm going to say false. I'm going to say false because you divulged to a non-comic book person that no one really dies until the end. So if the question was, did Leo get kicked out of the theater for cheering every time someone dies, that indicates to me that it was throughout. So I'm going to say it's a false.
Okay, this one is actually false. He didn't get kicked out. He just did it.
Oh, okay, nice.
Got away with it.
So
Way
that's
to
a
go.
point for Dave.
Thank
You
you.
get to pick some weird thing for him to drink. I hope
Still
you
got more
enjoy your
questions? You
prize.
could-
It's
could
gonna
pull
be-
ahead,
it's gonna
Tommy.
be medicine. Like drink some kind of fucking
Yeah,
antipsychotic medicine.
Yeah. That's a
Oh
good
yeah,
idea.
medication.
Yeah, could you fucking take medication, please?
Okay, next point about Leo. When he was in middle school, he won a pie eating contest and a hot dog eating contest on the same day.
Well, I hate to say it, but this is probably the most believable thing that you've said. I'm gonna go with true. I'm gonna go. He ate all the food.
I'm gonna go false, because who would ever have 2 types of food contests? That's insane. That's too much planning. You gotta buy pies and hot dogs. Nobody could do that.
No one's
Yeah.
a Rockefeller. That's, yeah.
Okay,
False.
this one is actually false. It was the same week.
Boom. Looks like we're tied again.
Tied again.
Tommy ties it up.
Let's
2
make
to
a pact
2.
that we still got.
These are really confusing because you really switch it up. They're always like half true.
You know,
he does-
he's a real.
It's a moving target.
He does a real Regis Philbin-y.
Yeah,
It's like, and you are fucking dead.
Yeah.
When next point about Leo.
Where did you find Leo?
He just shows up. It's kind of cool. It works
Finally
out.
just
I
put
don't-
him in. You're like,
yeah,
fine,
right.
just sit.
Come do it. Okay,
Happy
so
to be here.
next point about Leo. When he was in elementary school, he was a child actor, and his biggest credit was that he voiced a minor character on the show Dora the Explorer.
False.
Yeah, I'm gonna say false too because it's gonna be one of those like, well,
It was a major character.
It was actually VeggieTales.
It was Dora.
False.
I would voice Dora.
It is true. No.
Well,
yeah.
he has to tell you the answer.
Yeah,
I can't
we
say the
said
answer.
false. I said false.
You both say false?
Yeah, I
okay.
said false.
This one is actually false. He was
Yeah.
never a child actor.
Okay. Nor a child.
Yeah, I was born like
He was
this.
born peeing on ladies.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Found him under a bridge.
So we're still tied up 3-3. Got a couple more here to do. Okay, next point about Leo. We have 2 more. Leo has fought a deer.
You fought a deer. It's weird that we can ask questions because then I just want to be like, so when you fought the deer, like, where was this? Like,
But
what? were you
Leo's a
sober?
psychopath, so
Yeah.
I mean, we're learning this right now.
And he bit guinea pig.
Yeah.
You kind of want the story. It's like I have a flat tire. I pull over the side of the road. I get out to change the tire, and then a deer approaches me aggressively, and then he stomps his front hooves on the ground, which is classic deer move for squaring up. So then I was like, all right, it's go time.
That's the deers come at me, bro.
Yeah,
Right on.
that's the
I'm
deer.
gonna say true because he just said
A lot of stuff.
The old story that pretty much said that he fought.
I'm
the deer.
gonna say false. It wasn't a deer. It was probably like a moose or something.
Oh, yeah, now they're getting it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's starting to catch on.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. This one is actually true. That's it.
Take your points.
Is,
Tommy gets a point.
did you win? Is
4 to
everybody
3.
okay?
Yeah, who won the fight?
I'd like to think it was a tie. We
that
both.
means he lost.
You should see the other guy.
We were friends by the end of it.
I mean, if you look at it, like, he's probably dead with life expectancy of deer.
Do they not
Hopefully,
live long?
right? We can
Especially
only
in
hope.
Minnesota.
That's going around picking
Oh,
fights. Yeah,
man.
right.
Yeah.
Sounds like one of those deer that like dents your car by running into the side of it, right?
Yeah,
Those
like that
kinda
Louis C.K.
assholes
bit. Yeah.
Who?
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's
Okay.
redacted.
Next point about Leo. Leo has caught on fire.
As have I. So I mean, that's not
You caught on fire? How'd you catch on fire?
smoking balls, dog. Just long hair.
I get nervous with those kids in their vape pens that just explode.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you do the pen thing, or are you old school?
I do the douche box. Like it's the worst thing about it is it's much healthier, but like then you have to actually do it, and it's a shameful operation.
I'm going true. Dave was on fire.
I'm gonna say true. Leo was also on fire.
I'll say true.
I hope he was on fire after hearing what he did to those sweet kids.
Yeah, I need to pay for my sins.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is actually true. I don't know the story, but it's true. He was on fire.
I don't know the story either. I just was on fire once.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry
that's
that
a
happened to you.
that's a
not.
point for each.
I don't feel like you
With
had
all
it
the things
coming.
we've learned about this fucking
God.
ruffian.
Okay, so last point. Dave, you can either tie it up, or Tommy, you can take the win. It's that
Give it to
simple.
him.
Wow.
Leo was once punched in the face over a case of mistaken identity.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
And not because of all the other things we learned about Leo.
Oh no, that all
I
was
feel
fine.
like this will definitely be like, no, it wasn't mistaken identity. They knew it was
Yeah.
Leo,
Yeah.
and it was the deer's family, and they lit him on fire.
It was that wife that didn't like getting peed on.
This all happened in 1 week. This is all 1 week of Leo.
So somebody mistaken identity punched you.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think they thought you were?
Well, okay, so it was actually like I
if
was at
this did happen.
I was at a bar with my friends, and all I heard was, "This is for Billy," and then I don't remember anything after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say true then, because somebody
let's
thought
just
you
go
were Billy
true.
and punched you.
This one's true. Somebody hit him. And there's multiple, apparently.
I don't doubt it.
Are they in jail now?
I hope so.
That's good.
That makes the final score of 6-5. Tommy wins. So Tommy,
That's
yes,
great.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
You got to know.
Come from
Leo
behind
best.
story. This was a real.
Because y'all from
exciting.
Minnesota, so you knew. Fucking.
Well, at the end, he would just tell you what he did. He wasn't even. It wasn't. It was weird. You would just ask. You like, yeah, I did that.
I think you should make it. Zoloft? Would you like to drink a shot of
Yeah.
Zoloft?
Sure. Yeah, I'll
Is
take.
that, I don't know if they serve that, but we can try.
It's probably
This is
something.
Roger.
Here
Here in
it's just
Rochester?
vodka and whatever pills they have in their purse. So,
What?
anyway, Tommy, what would you like to make Leo drink? He's a good sport.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to do anything too weird. Do we just find it in here, or do we gotta special order it?
I'll special order it.
Okay.
I'm a magician. I'll make it.
What about like pickle juice? That'd be kind
Yeah.
of fun. A shot of pickle juice, and then we can put a French fry in it.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah,
be good for
is
my
it-
muscles. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
There it
That'd
is.
be great.
Pickle juice and talk to your doctor, please.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And call somebody.
Yeah.
You know, it's-
I'll call my family.
Yeah.
Stop eating,
No, I
biting
think
guinea pigs.
I think that's the root cause of this. So don't call your family. Call a mental health professional.
Yeah, I need help. So is this segment good?
Cool. Okay, so we're back. We have the shot of pickle juice for Leo to drink by special
We're
request.
gonna add a little bit.
We're gonna add something
We're gonna
to
add
it.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna
cool.
add some hot sauce to the pickle juice, and not just any hot sauce, hot sauce. So
Wow.
it's gonna be a spicy pickleback for old P-boy Leo over here. There we go.
That's a
There we go.
more than a little bit of hot sauce.
Well,
That's-
because this is for the guinea pigs of the world.
Okay. Can I?
Finally.
Hot sauce.
How do you do with
go to
spice?
Can I say before I do this beautiful that none of that is true? I don't want,
It's all baloney.
yeah, I don't want people watching this to think that Leo's some raging psychopath.
Well,
But I did pee on somebody, but
Not a friend's fiance. There are standards.
no, this is all a lie. This is all a ruse.
This is all made up. Well, should we take? You don't want to do that then?
Yeah, I think you should. No, I'll do it. I'll do it.
no,
For,
you're doing it just for being.
Just for lying.
just
to
for
us.
the, yeah, I'm sorry. I do deserve.
Yeah.
So this is.
Yeah.
And what kind of hot sauce you say
It's
that
called
is?
Ha Ha Hot Sauce. So I make it with an orange, a pear, and apple cider vinegar, and then I use the Carolina Reaper, which is one of the hottest peppers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So drink up.
I will. This is for God.
Oh, it was all at the bottom.
Huh. So that's what that tastes like.
Is it
It
good?
looks like it's gonna be worse later.
Yeah, it's in right now. It's in my throat.
Do you need like a pretzel?
No,
bread
no,
or
he
anything?
doesn't. He doesn't
No.
get that. He,
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I just
I
have
think you're
to
adding
deal with it.
rules. You're like, no, he's got to sit in this.
I'm sorry.
Sit in this.
Let's see how this
Deal with
plays
it.
out.
I'm
yeah.
sorry for lying to you.
Yeah. Well,
That's okay. Learned a lot of interesting stuff about you.
Yeah.
how's it
it's all
taste,
good fun.
motherfucker?
It tastes like forgiveness.
He's atoned. Yeah. Okay.
Really, there's like no reaction. Like
No, he's a
It's
he's
actually
he's a machine.
Yeah, I'm a tank.
Oh yeah.
pickles are good in hot sauce, so ideally it should go
Yeah.
Yeah.
well.
We kind of didn't think this through.
Yeah, we really should have put.
That's okay.
Yeah, sure, that's right.
Get
Yeah.
him next time.
Yeah.
That's all for this episode of Road Lunch. Thanks for watching. My name's Andy Fisher. Thanks to Goonies. Thanks to the Crooked Pint. Thanks for Leo for being a good sport. And especially thank you to comedians Tommy Ryman and Dave Yates for being here.
Having lunch on the road.
Please check out my 2 albums on iTunes, Bath Time with Tommy and Having the Time of My Life. And I also have a new special on Dry Bar Comedy you can watch. And visit TommyRhyme.com to see all my tour dates. Thanks.
You can check out my first album coming to iTunes and all these other platforms called One Long Merch Pitch. So it should be coming down the pipe when this airs. And then if you like hot sauce, like I know you do, it's called Ha Ha Hot Sauce. You can catch me at Ha Ha Hot Sauce on Instagram, hahahotsauce.com for online orders, and it's delicious. So, and then give me a follow at Yates Comedy on Instagram and Twitter if you want to know where I'm coming to your area.